fight. We don't have to kill. Everybody in the whole wide world really just needs to chill. No, we don't have to fuss, no, no, no. We don't have to fight.
Hey everybody, welcome back to not just a brand new episode, but a brand new season of Just Chill with Oliver George. Season 2 premiere here, and I could not be more excited about the guest. But before we get to that, as always, if you are listening to this right now and you did not realize that there was a YouTube show version of the show, please come check out the visual side of things. And vice versa to that, if you're watching me on YouTube right now and for whatever reason you would prefer an audio-only version, you can get that on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, etc. Wherever you find the show, though, please subscribe, like, follow, whatever the case may be. It really means a lot, and I'm just trying to grow the channel, and I really do appreciate everybody who has already, so thank you very much. Finally, if you want to contact the show, it's justchillpodcasting@gmail.com. Now, let's get to this Season 2 goodness. I'm so excited to share this with you. I got to sit down and talk with someone who has been gracing Canadian screens for over 2 decades, whether you know him from Muchmusic or whether you know him from Entertainment Tonight Canada or various other things. I'm talking about Rick The Temp Campanelli. And he has a reputation that precedes him as being one of the nicest guys in the Canadian entertainment industry, and I can fully back that up. I've been Instagram messaging with him for months now while we tried to figure this out, and he's just treated me like a friend since day one and the sweetest dude ever. So I really think you'll enjoy this episode, and thank you so much for checking it out. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, it always has the camera crossed out for some reason.
I guess it's to protect you in case you're not dressed yet or something.
Yeah, man. Finally, nice to meet you.
I was going to say, I got to thank you so much for taking the time, but I feel like I kind of know you already. We've been messaging back and forth since like pre-COVID.
I know, man. And I really wish I could be sitting there with you. But as the weeks and months went along, I thought, you know what, maybe this is the safest way to do it for now.
Yeah.
And then, you know, part 2, I'd love to join you one day.
Dude, you're welcome here anytime.
Continue the conversation, but yeah, this will do for now.
Yeah, no, it's crystal clear, so it's
good,
the next
man.
best thing.
Awesome.
This started, I guess, when I had Strombo on my show last January, and he spoke very highly of you.
Oh man!
And I sent you that clip because I thought, you know, you might want to see it, and I remember you telling me that, you know, you were really moved by it. So
I was, man.
I was glad to be able to share it.
I'm getting all teary-eyed right now just thinking about that clip. That was really sweet of you to send. That was sweet of George to say all that stuff. And yeah, he's like a brother. You know, still is. We don't see each other much these days, but back in the day, he was like a brother. You know, the guy you could go to because he knew something about everything. And that was the most amazing thing about George. Like he was an expert in all fields. Like he was a teacher. He was an educator in all fields, not just music. People think just music, but everything, sports, politics, whatever, you name it. The guy knows his stuff.
Well, especially hosting the hour for whatever, 10 years. I mean, you learn so much interviewing so many different people.
No doubt. Exactly.
Yourself included with ET Canada and stuff. You must, you know, pick up little pieces every time you talk to somebody.
You really do. You get to know a lot about people, for sure. People that you look up to, people that are your heroes, people that you just respect. You know, that was the beauty of that job. Like, and I loved, like you love doing right here, right now.
Yeah, I was just gonna say,
chatting with people, you know, and finding out about people's lives, you know, the good and the bad and everything about them. So yeah, it's like, it was an honor to meet people and chat with people that I grew up watching or I grew up listening to in terms of acting or music. So yeah, it's, I've taken a step back as you know, but I'm ready to get back at it. Back at it.
That's what the last year of my life has been, just talking with all these people that I grew up admiring and
that's awesome.
trying to glean a little bit of insight from their amazing lives and stuff. So thank you again.
Cool, man. You have a good gig. You have a really cool gig.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, it's been a lot of work.
I'm jealous. You inspire me.
Thanks, dude.
Yeah.
Right back at you, man. I mean, and everything George said about you, you definitely are the nicest dude ever. I've heard it from many people, but the fact that you were going to drive down just to do an interview is insanity.
Well, I wanted to be there live in person. When I chat with somebody, that's the way I want it to be. unfortunately, due to COVID, this is the way it is these days. But I want to be there with people when I'm talking to them. You know,
Yeah.
I still to this day dislike texting or emailing. I'd rather talk and be with the person and spend some time with them.
I'm the same way. I mean, video chat is pretty sweet, but you do get that lag and you end up talking over each other sometimes. It's not ideal, but
it's the next best thing, I guess.
Exactly.
In these times. Yeah.
especially for families who can't see each other and stuff right now, you know.
Oh, of course. Oh,
it's imperative. Oh, you froze it on me.
Globe, you know, it's perfect.
Sorry, yeah, you froze up
like
for a second. I might have missed a bit of what you said.
No, I was just saying for family members or loved ones who are like halfway on the other side of the globe or on the other side of the globe, this is the perfect solution to all
Exactly. Yeah. I want to start off by saying, because you teased in a message that you sent me that you might have some potentially big news to share, so I can't just gloss over that. Is that something you can confirm or?
Unfortunately,
no, eh?
Right now, Oliver, I can't say anything. I wish I had great news for you. And I'm hoping with fingers crossed that great news will be coming in the next few days. But yeah, I'm still waiting to hear.
You can't give us a clue or a hint or anything?
Well, the clue and the hint is, like I talked about earlier, I've taken a step back from TV for the past 3.5 years to be a full-time dad, to be there for my 3 boys. And it's been the most amazing role or job I've ever had in my life, you know, and I've had 2 amazing roles, jobs at Much and at ET Canada. So to be a dad, to be there and to experience all that precious and cherish those precious moments and times with my little guys and my teenager, it's been heaven, man. It's been amazing. And now that my youngest Harrison is at school full time and JK, well, now it's time to get back at it, you know, and get back into my career, which has been on TV for the past, oh my gosh, when did I start? Mid-90s, I guess.
94, I guess, yeah.
94, winning the contest. So I've really missed it. I've really missed it over the past 3.5 years, although I've really loved doing what I've done as a dad, full-time dad. But I'm going to get back. I'm going to get back on TV. It's my passion. It's my love. I guess it's my mistress when I'm not here with my family. But TV is the goal, and TV is the clue. Live TV is an even bigger clue.
Okay, well, this is exciting.
So we'll see. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because I'm mainly a stay-at-home dad too. I work part-time at the hospital on call, basically around my fiance's schedule, but she's the breadwinner. You know, we're a 21st century couple, and I'm more than okay with that. I think that's awesome to change the stereotypical, you know, dynamic of the
why not?
Family.
It's 2020. I feel a little bad for all those grandfathers back in the day and dads back in the day that didn't even consider what you and I are doing, are living. They didn't consider it back then. It was always the female, and that was awesome for that time. But I want to be there and experience all these amazing moments in my boys' lives, you know, like you. I want to be there. I took control of that and I wanted to be part of it. And it's as simple as that. And so,
I mean, like, that's what I tell people. My fiance is an ICU nurse and she's incredible at her job. And I love the fact that our family dynamic allows her to work full time at what she loves doing and helping people and saving people's lives and stuff. And,
that's awesome.
And likewise, I'm the creative type and not only do I get to spend time with my kids, but it allows me to pursue exploits like this. But I did want to ask you.
It sounds like it's the perfect pairing, the perfect relationship. It really
I think that's always important, is having the right partnership and the right balance too. So, you know, two workaholics probably might not work out together, and two artists might not work out together either because they can't pay the bills, you know?
True. The workaholics working all the time, it might work without children.
Yes. but I feel so bad for kids that get pawned off to daycare nonstop and then someone else is essentially raising your kid at the formative years. That's always bothered me.
Yeah, same here.
I saw an interview.
Now, those jobs are important and people need to do that, but I chose a different route, and I chose to stay away from that. And yeah, like listen, people have different goals in life and different dreams, and you know, mine was to be here for a little while. And with being let go at ET Canada, like I was sort of forced into it. Yeah, right. It was almost a blessing in disguise for me being let go back in 2017, because it pushed me into being a full-time dad, stay-at-home dad, 24/7. You know, prior to that, it was a busy life. It was a busy career. You know, a lot of time in the studio, a lot of time traveling. You know, you didn't get to spend all that time at home with the kids, and I'm grateful. You know, it's weird, but I'm sort of grateful that my time came to an end there, you know, after 12 seasons, and I was forced into being, you know, a full-time dad 100% of the time.
Well, first of all, 12 seasons is a great run anyways. It's nothing to scoff at.
Yeah.
But I saw an interview that you did, and that's kind of what I wanted to ask you, of like how much of a transformation it must have felt like in your life, because these guys were interviewing you and you were describing your typical day. And this is when you were waking up at 4:30 in the morning, doing a radio show, then going to ET, getting home, and you described having like a precious hour with your kids. And I'm thinking, I couldn't live like that.
It was, well, I only did that for 7 months. Okay. You know, I couldn't do it for more than that, because I came to that point where I needed to be at home with my family more. You know, I was missing it so much. So unfortunately, I had to say goodbye to one of those amazing opportunities. And they were both under the Chorus umbrella. You know, The Edge and ET Canada were both Chorus properties. And unfortunately, we just couldn't work out, you know, shaving hours either in the morning or in the afternoon or in the middle of the day. It was a 14-hour day. It was crazy. Like, I was never at home. So, and I really, really enjoyed both of those gigs. You know, The Edge brought me back to my rock and roll music roots, and I loved talking music with Fred and Mel in the morning on The Edge. And then, of course, my bread and butter was ET Canada, and I loved that gig. So it was
no better gig than chilling with your kids, though, right?
Exactly, man. Exactly. So it was the toughest decision. One of the toughest ones I had to make was to say to The Edge, guys, thank you for the opportunity, but I can't be here anymore. I can if it was just you, or it was so hard, Oliver. It was just so hard.
I can imagine.
But
I mean,
family
you still
first,
have
family first.
Yeah, and you have sponsorships up the wazoo if your Instagram page is any indication. So,
well, listen, man, I'll tell you about that right now, because people ask me about that all the time. It's the modern day job.
Yeah.
It's the modern day job. You know, you go on social media, you talk up a product that you genuinely love or like or use, and you get to pay the bills with the paycheck that is sent your way. It's amazing, because it allows me to spend all this time at home with my family. At the same time, it allows me to make an income and pay the bills. And you
make some grilled cheese with Wonder Bread, and that's lunch with your kids, but you're also paying the bills, you know?
Not just making that beautiful grilled cheese, but that beautiful signature pan that you know, it's amazing. It really is amazing. You're creative. I'm creative. I love that whole world. And by writing captions or coming up with content, I love that stuff. I love it. It reminds me of, you know, writing my old stories when I first started at ET Canada, because we wrote all our stories, we did all our edits, we did all that stuff. So it's bringing me back to that. And I've always been a very creative mind, a creative soul, and it's my latest. But listen, that stuff's not going to last forever. I don't want to be the modern day pitch man for years to come.
Doing ShamWow or something.
It's They haven't contacted me yet.
No. Yeah, I don't think they're doing so great after the last guy.
Those are incredible products. Yeah, right. So no, we'll see. You know, knock on wood, 3 times, if this TV gig happens for me, there'll be less of me in your face pushing products. Trust me.
Oh, I don't mind. Your stories just make me hungry usually. But
you try to keep it as real and authentic and organic as you can. And I guess that's why they continue to hire me. I don't know.
Well, you're a lovable guy. I mean, you're a great person to pitch a product for sure. I totally get it.
Man.
And you do seem like a really, really great dad. And that's one thing I wanted to bring up too, is I noticed one of your sons seems to, choose Owlette a lot of the time and those types of things. And I think it's really cool that you don't force like a gender stereotype on your son. And that's a very modern approach,
You know what? We were forced into that years ago. And why? Why were we forced into that? Colors are colors, images are images. Why make one feminine? Why make one masculine? It just doesn't make sense. Let them be who they want to be. Yeah. Let them be who they want to be. Let them like what they want to like. And it's as simple as that when it comes to raising children. It shouldn't be any more complicated. Harrison loves the pink and purple tutus. I'm going to let him wear that pink and purple tutu. If it brings him joy, why not?
And in contrast to the probably thousands or maybe millions of fathers who would see their son playing with a Barbie and freak out and, rage over it, which is just ridiculous.
Life's too short to rage and to freak out, and we both know that. And people should sort of get that in their heads a little more. Life's too precious and too short to freak out over little things like that. Let's concentrate on things that we need to concentrate on and freak out over those things and get upset with those things than these minor little trivial things. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Well, all your kids are lucky to have you as a dad, man.
Oh man. I'm sure your kids are saying the same thing. Do you have multiple kids?
Yeah, I have 2 kids from my previous marriage, and luckily we're all copacetic with the ex-wife. Everything's good. We're a modern family. And then my fiance and I have a guy who's 3.5. So
that's amazing. You and I are like the opposite. So I have 1 from a previous marriage and 2 little guys currently. Hey, hopefully more to come. We'll see. I love kids, man. I love big families. I'm done. From a big family. You're done. You're done. That's it.
Well, to be fair, I didn't even think I was going to have my youngest son. After I got divorced, I thought, okay, I've got 2 kids. And we started really young. I was 23 when I had my son.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
He's in grade 7 now, and I'm only turning 35 in December.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's so I thought, okay, sweet. Both my kids will be in college when I'm like 40, and I can go, travel the world. And then I met my fiance. And she was like, "Hey, I want a baby," and I love her. So, and of course, I love him so much. I don't regret having him or anything like Beautiful. That. But, I'm done at this point.
Yeah. And hey, listen, Oliver, you can still travel the world and do your thing with kids. The kids don't let kids hold you back. I'm sure you know that.
True. Yeah. COVID's holding me back right now.
COVID's holding us back right now. COVID's holding us back. I can't even come to Ottawa to be with you in person. I'm going to get you COVID-19. I'm going to get you.
Vaccines on the way.
Vaccines on the way. Yeah. Oh, that'd be amazing once that comes out. Yeah. Then we're going to be living life.
Just to get back to normal. Yeah. It would be great. Whatever normal is. I barely remember anymore.
Oh, it's hard to remember, man. It seems like this last, has it been 7-8 months since March? It's felt like years. The first few months felt like years. I'm sure we all can relate.
To be honest, I found the first month, I don't want to say exciting because that sounds like I was reveling in it or something, but it was, it shook things up a bit, and it kind of, I don't know, it made you feel pretty alive. And
I totally agree.
Yeah.
It kept things simple for us, right? And it brought things back to where they should be.
Yeah.
In this overwhelming world that we live in, it brought things back to a simpler way of living. We were constantly doing Legos and puzzles, and it was amazing. I loved it.
You forget how much you miss that stuff. Yeah.
I know. Well, as you grow up, it's like, you don't get the chance to play with that stuff as much unless you have young kids.
Yeah. Even then, though, you have responsibilities a lot of time. Like, nothing's worse than hearing your kids say, like, "Oh, do you want to come play?" And you're like, "I got to finish this thing I'm working on," or whatever. You feel like a dick.
I know. As long as you're making time for them at some point, that's
it's a balance. It's all about balance.
It's a balance. For sure it is.
Okay, well, let's go back in time to where it all sort of began. I know you had a lot of aspirations growing up, things you wanted to be. I heard you wanted to be a pilot and a soccer player and architect.
I did. I had a lot of dreams. I'm still a dreamer, man. Maybe I'll still be one of those one day.
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah.
You're still young.
Yeah.
So you win the contest in 94 though. I want to know, like, what was that like being, you would have been like 24 years old.
Yeah, man.
Much had been around for like a decade at that point.
Yeah.
So you must have been a fan, probably watching it like everybody else.
I was a
And then all of a
huge
sudden
fan.
you're catapulted into this position. Like, did you ever think you were going to go into the entertainment industry before that, or was just
no, I didn't, Oliver. No, man. It was 94. I was still at university, finishing up my phys ed degree. I thought I would become a teacher like my older siblings. I was going to follow it in the long line of Campanelli teachers. All three of them are teachers, and I thought I was going to be the next. You know, teach kids how to kick a soccer ball or throw a basketball, throw a hoop. But I won this contest. I won this amazing contest, and I had watched much. Like you said, it started in '84, and I was watching it all those years. Music was my life. Music, not as much these days. My thumb isn't on the pulse as it was back in the day, but music was my life. Older. We're just getting older.
Yeah, I feel like I'm so out of touch too with the current popular stuff.
Well, it feels like there's millions of artists out there these days, like millions. Everyone's an artist, but that's amazing. But yeah, I lived it. I breathed it. I loved music. I knew everything about music, so I watched much music religiously. I knew everything about the VJs. I knew everything about the videos, the directors. I loved it so much. It was so new back then. So yeah, I thought, what the heck? I'm gonna try out for this contest. I'm gonna send in. Back then, we had 25 words to describe or explain why we would be the perfect fit or the perfect person for this job. Yeah,
that's
25
insane.
words.
That's like 3 sentences.
20 exactly. And back then it wasn't about, you know, filming yourself, doing a selfie, you know, visual with camera phones, because there weren't camera phones. There were camcorders, but so what I did was, I remember this, I'll never forget it. I was at school. I was at my rental house off campus, and I was laying there and I was thinking, 25 words, how am I gonna make sure my entry stands out? Well, I chose words that were on Muchmusic at the time. And I don't know if you remember, you might be a little young.
I was born in '85, so.
Okay, so, you know, I used the word electric from Electric Circus.
I remember Electric Circus.
Buzz from Buzz Clip, outlaw from Outlaws and Heroes. And there were so many more words that I combined into my statement. I made up a statement, then I came up with an alternate using the Muchmusic words at the time. And I think if I can remember correctly, my 25 words were, rather than outlaw another summer on my fax wedging you guys, I feel obligated to extend my power and help buzz around your electric environment. I believe that was 25 words.
That's
Anyhow,
awesome.
It was pretty cool back then. The original statement was, rather than wasting another summer on my ass just sitting around on my couch watching you guys, and that's how it started. But I integrated the words and the shows at the time on Much. Anyway, I sent it in this huge banner that I created in my parents' basement. I was supposed to be studying for midterms at the time, but I thought my priority is going to be this contest. This is my goal in my dream in life. So the banner was like half the length of a football field, and I airbrushed. I was minoring in art, majoring in phys ed at university. I loved art. I love creating and being imaginative. So anyhow, I airbrushed this whole statement that I just read out to you on this banner. I also created a big M shaped box. Back then, the logo was the M. Before MTV came around and said, you can't use the M, switch to something else. Well, it was an M for Muchmusic. So my M-shaped box opened like this from the top, and then out came all these helium balloons pulling out my banner that I created.
Lord.
Yeah.
No wonder you got the gig. Jesus Christ.
Well, see, I had entered the year before. This whole contest started in '93, and I sent something in on a piece of paper, which was the stupidest thing to do. No one's gonna pick my entry from a piece of paper. I thought the next year, because I didn't win that year, obviously in '93. In '94, I thought I really want to make a splash, and I was creative, so I made this whole, I wish I had pictures to send you.
That would
or
be
show you.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got them around somewhere on old Polaroids, but
If
yeah.
you can find them, man, because this episode won't go up for a couple weeks. So if you can find them, I can add them in.
I've got them somewhere. I got the long, rock and roll hair going.
Yeah, I remember.
But I sent in this entry, and I knew the exact day when they were announcing the winner of the 1994 Temp contest. So I was sitting around. I remember my dad was working the night shift wherever he was working at the time, and he was sleeping up in his room. And so he unplugged all the phones in the house, and that's what he did when he wanted to sleep. So I'm sitting there with my brother. I remember my cousin was there. We're all on the couch waiting, watching Muchmusic, waiting for the announcement. So as it turns out, after the commercial break, Erica M comes back with my entry in front of her.
Oh, wow.
She's like leaning on it, and she says along the lines of, I guess you're wondering who this year's Temp winner is. Well, it's this entry right in front of me. And we started going crazy. They were trying to call me. They were trying to call me to get me on with Erica, but my dad had unplugged all the phones in the house. So there's never any direct contact. I just knew I had won, and my life was about to change when I saw that box that I created in my parents' basement a few weeks prior. So it was a magical moment, man. It really was. I'm trying to describe it, but I'm not doing that whole scenario justice.
It sounds amazing.
It was, I still get goosebumps just talking about it, because Oliver, that changed my life. That entry, that contest, me being the winner of that contest, it changed my life. Because then I was introduced to Much. I was there for the summer of '94. I didn't want to leave. I kept saying, is there anything I could do? I'll do anything you want. I'll go fetch the coffee. I'll rewind all the tapes, because they were tapes back then. I'll do anything you guys want me to do. And I did. I did just about anything they wanted me to do for a year and a half. I did everything from shipping and receiving
just a gopher
to production. I was the gopher. And then finally in '96, I was still around writing for Facts at the time. Before George got there, it was Lance and Monica hosting it, and I was writing the info faxes. And I guess the person that had won the VJ Search in '95, which I applied for, and I was one of the finalists on, it's one of the 7. He didn't work out, I guess, because Steve Anthony was leaving, and they needed to fill those shoes. So Denise Donlan pulls me into her office, and she says, Rick, would you consider going on air as a Muchmusic VJ? And that was early '96, and the rest is history.
And the name Temp obviously stuck around. It
stuck around, man.
And then the franchise
story so long, but you just brought me back, Oliver, with that question. You just brought me back to how it all played out for me. But yeah, the nickname, yeah, sure, man. The handle, Rick The Temp, I love it. Like, I love it to this day. People will still call me Rick The Temp. Sometimes they get the first name wrong, Mark The Temp, whatever they're gonna say, but it's always The Temp. And and I joke, and I'm gonna have that on my gravestone one day. It's like, here lies Rick The Temp. But it's, there are worse.
That's kind of appropriate because life is temporary. So
exactly. Yeah. No, man, it's been a beautiful run, and no regrets at all. I've loved every minute of the last 26 years or so. It's been amazing. It really has, man.
Well, that was George told me about the name The Franchise, which I wasn't familiar with. And then he also said, I think Ricky Wildcat or something like that.
I think T gave me the Ricky Young Cat.
Oh, there you go.
Master T, Tony Young. I still keep in touch with Tony to this day. We play soccer together days when our old bodies can hack it. But yeah, I believe it was George who gave me the name The Franchise. I don't. That's a beautiful name. It's a generous name. I guess because George and I think Brad started using it as well. I guess they thought I was going to be a lifer over there at Muchmusic. But when you start having babies, Oliver, it's like, how can this person be a Muchmusic VJ? They're having babies. I think it's time to move along. And I started having babies. So that was the beginning of the end for me at Much. after having kids. So yeah, that was a good run too, from 94 winning the contest up until 2005 when I joined on with ET Canada.
Yeah, I was going to say, actually, you made me think of something, because when you said they tried to call you and your dad had unplugged all the phones, I was watching a bunch of clips on YouTube of your stuff last night, and there was one Munch Access that you did in 99, and you had like blonde hair, and you were trying to give some guy a present, and his dad was like, I'm on the other line. It's the funniest shit.
Technology back then, so basic,
yeah,
so
what
primitive.
can you do?
You know, look what the young generation has to work with now. This stuff is amazing. And us too, generation dealing. This technology that we have these days, man, kids these days could never survive what we survived back in the 80s and 90s. It's like, you didn't have these luxuries.
But I don't know if that's a good thing. This is one of the questions I was going to ask you, because Muchmusic and MTV, they kind of changed into completely different beings after a while. You know, MTV became a reality TV thing. Much plays like comedy stuff now. But just like, do you think that the kids nowadays are missing out on that, having to wait around to see their favorite video or their favorite show? You know, it's just so.
I don't even think they know what that feeling feels like.
Yeah.
You know, anticipating something, because everything's so there at our fingertips and so instant. Like I was talking to
patience is a virtue, right?
Patience is a virtue. Yes, sir. I was talking about this to someone the other day. I used to love the whole visual element and aspect of an album or a CD, the liner notes, the pictures, going through something with my own fingers and feeling it and touching it and smelling the brand newness of it. And I used to, you know, cause bands would say, okay, our album's going to be out in 3 months or whatever it is. We're just working on it right now. So on my calendar, I'd mark down the days to when that Nirvana album was coming out, or that Pearl Jam album or Foo Fighters album was coming out. It was like, well, I guess it wouldn't be Foo Fighters because they're, you know, more Nirvana, more Chili Peppers, I guess.
Well, no, because even Foo Fighters, like I felt the same way. I didn't really get vinyls.
I guess they were on the cusp, yeah.
But CDs were kind of the same way. I like the liner notes and just knowing like, hey, this is what the band wanted me, the customer, to have. This is their artwork, you know, the way they wanted it delivered.
In a way, it was a personalized thing, I felt. Yeah. Even though, you know, millions of other people around the world were reading those same liner notes and feeling those same pieces of paper, but it felt so personal to me.
Yeah, you felt a connection
because
with
we
the artist.
had a connection with that artist, with their music, and then to receive something at the local record shop. Those moments that we got to experience and this generation doesn't, those moments are precious, man. Those are, I can't describe the feeling.
Yeah.
And you're right, this generation, you know, they're getting their things done their way, and that's cool. Like that's cool. Yeah. They'll just never know. They have joys and they experience things, and they have precious scenarios that they go through. We just went through some different ones that made you feel amazing inside. You know, you'll never forget those feelings.
And and every generation has stuff like that. Like when I grew up, I could go rent a movie if I wanted to see it, but I would talk to my dad, and he's like, when we were kids, if you didn't see it in the theater, you were kind of screwed until they played it on TV 10 years later or whatever, you know?
That's right. So, with commercials. Yeah, that's exactly. So true.
And maybe they censor out the swearing.
It's so true. So every generation goes through different things and experiences, but I do feel this generation and how we're living in 2020, there's just way too much coming at us. It's intense. Yeah. It's not, I don't know if it's a good or bad thing, but it works me up. I get too anxious when there's too much thrown at me.
Yeah.
I don't need that pressure. It's too complex. It's too overwhelming.
Definitely. You know? You kind of touched on this, but
I'm an old guy, right, Oliver? The young ones that are, you know, this generation, the teenagers, they want more. They're probably saying it's not coming at me fast enough. Bring it on, you know. But
well, you don't look old, man. You look like you're like 35 or something.
Oh, God bless you, man. No, thank you. I'm 50. I turned 50 this year.
Unbelievable.
Inside, I feel 75, to tell you the truth. I am slowing right down inside. Oh, yeah?
Getting sore joints and stuff?
Sore joints, the achy muscles. Oh, I was just at the hospital this morning for a scrotal exam. So there you go. Not to offend anyone or disgust any of your listeners.
And you weren't too nuts about that?
Hey, you'll be there in another 15 years.
Oh yeah, I know. I want to stay safe, you know. I want to get my prostate and all that checked.
That's right.
I want to be there for my kids and long and old, you know.
And grandkids.
Exactly. I didn't even think about that yet. Yeah.
Grandkids. That's where I'm thinking these days.
Well, I mean, you've got a teenager. You still got a while to go. Hopefully he doesn't, get any teen pregnancy thing going on or anything, but.
Well, he was telling me the other day as I was driving back home, I'm hanging out with this girl and that girl. I'm walking this girl home from school because she gets a little, nervous walking home by herself. I'm hanging out with. We'll see what happens. No, listen, gosh, 15 years old. He's got a long way to go. But
yeah, I know what I was up to at 15, though. You know, you gotta, as long as you teach them well, you know,
of course,
be safe and all that.
Of course, yeah.
You kind of touched on this, but I did want to ask, do you keep in touch with a lot of the other VJs from Much? Because it must have been like a family when you were there, but life gets in the way sometimes. I was just curious, like, who do you stay in touch with?
We did everything together back then. It was a fun, loyal family that we were a part of, and not just the VJs, but the people behind the scenes. You know, I got to become great friends with a lot of producers and the directors. It was a family environment. It really a friendly family environment. So yeah, these days I'll reach out to them every once in a while. The ones that come to mind are, Bradford and Master T, George every so often as well. George more so on Instagram with direct messages. He'll comment on one of my posts or I'll comment on one of his posts and then we'll get the conversation going. I'd much rather see everyone and be with them and give them a hug.
You guys should do like a reunion special or something.
Oh man,
it'd be amazing.
That'd be awesome. That would be awesome. Yeah.
Get Ed the Sock in there.
Yeah, get the Sock. And I do hang out with Steve a lot and talk to Steve a lot.
Yeah, I've been on his podcast a couple of times. He's got a podcast called Mensplaining where he has a bunch of guys talk about masculinity issues. And I've been on that a couple of times.
Yeah, Steve is a great guy. And he's had such an amazing brand. And what he's done with Ed the Sock over the years, talk about longevity. Man, Ed.
Yeah, he's been pissing people off for decades.
That's true. Pissing people off and calling people morons for years.
Yeah, he's been getting in hot water on Twitter this year. I followed a couple of things that he was. I'm not going to go into it here, but
that's the beauty and the amazing thing about Ed the Sock and being a puppet. Like you could say whatever the heck you want, and he did back then. I'm saying me or George or Rachel or Amanda, we had to be careful back then at what we said. We couldn't really express our opinions that much the way Ed did because he's a puppet and you can get away with that stuff. So Ed for Muchmusic was that extreme. And then you had the other extreme of, almost walking on eggshells at times with what you were saying, especially to the bands. Now that
although it'd be nothing compared to 2020, people getting canceled left and right.
That's true. That's so true. Yeah, that's so true. But no, it was good times, man. We did get away with a lot back in the day. It was, because it was live. You would prepare something and show your producer of your game plan, your rundown, and then you would stray from time to time, depending on what the answers were from the people that you were talking to, and you just ran with that. But yeah, I should correct myself. At first, it was like the Wild West, man. We did do what we wanted to do. It was towards the end when it became a little corporate and, the early 2000s to mid 2000s, it's like, okay, you can't talk about this. You can't bring up this subject. Let me see your exact questions like that. That took away from a lot of the fun.
Makes it a lot more robotic, yeah.
It did. And that was exactly the time when I started having babies. And I thought I'd say, okay, guys, it's been great, but you do things the way you want to do them. I prefer to do things this way, but whatever. We agree to disagree.
Okay, well, I got a question about this. Could I guess pertain to Much or ET? I didn't want to ask the boring question everybody asks, like, what was your favorite interview? I'm sure you've been asked that a million times. So my fiance actually gave me this spin on that question, which is, what was the most intimidating interview that you ever done?
On Much Music?
Well, either or, you know, just someone where you were really, really like shaking in your boots.
Well, let's start with ET Canada, because with ET Canada, I was interviewing not just music people anymore, but TV actors, film actors. So it was a little bit out of my, you know, area of expertise. Now I love film and love TV, but music was my thing, and was my strength. So, so let's talk about some ET Canada interviews that went south. Most of them were junket style. So you fly to a city where the actor is, you go into a hotel room where they're sitting, you have 4 minutes, you get the wrap up signal and you exit. So Oliver, you can't really make you can't really have a substantial interview with someone in 4 minutes. It's basically 3-4 questions, right? But there was this one older gentleman who I sat down in front of. Give me some time here. The name is just, I'm drawing a blank.
Okay. Is this an actor?
He's an actor.
What was he in? I might be able to help. I know some pop culture.
He does commercials for an insurance company these days. He's an older, damn, man. You can edit this, right?
Sure, yeah. I mean.
Man. His name, I just. I'm
tip
sorry,
of the brain,
man.
yeah.
Anyway, the rumor going around was this guy's a tough interview. He doesn't smile. You know, you're going to try to make him laugh, but it's going to be impossible. And he's going to give you a tough time. He's basically a grumpy old man, very crusty. So that was a tough one, man. That was like pulling teeth, because I like to make people laugh and smile. I did have an icebreaker when I walked into the room for him, and he sort of maybe gave me a half smile, but that was a tough interview. And it felt like eternity. Oh, the name will come to me. I'm so sorry.
I'll just, you figure it out later, and then I'll just put the guy's picture right when we talk. Oh, now
that's okay. No, let me, there's a call coming in.
Oh yeah, no worries.
He heard me talking about him. No. You're still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
There you are. But yeah, but to tell you the truth, man, there weren't a lot of intimidating ones. I would go down that road of, you know, there was a fine line between being intimidated and being nervous, because it was an artist or an actor that I looked up to for my whole life. Excited. Like, for example, Tom Hanks, you know.
Oh, wow.
I watched the guy on Bosom Buddies, his first hit sitcom back in the 80s. And I loved this actor. I loved this guy. And as we all know, he's a superstar actor, multi-Academy Award winner. So leading into an interview like that, it's like, oh my gosh, Tom Hanks, he's done everything. He's won everything. But sitting there across from him, he was the nicest, most genuine person that you could ever talk to. Humble. Like,
a feeling I can relate to right now.
No, man. But so I appreciate that. But so Tom is up there, and then of course George Clooney was the same exact way. You're thinking these guys, they're gonna have a little bit of attitude. They're gonna give you a tough time because they've accomplished everything. But these are the people that have gone through life knowing what it's like to be that person across on the other side, and having a little empathy for that person, what they're going through, the nerves or the intimidation or they're scared. So these guys make you feel so comfortable. You know, George gets up out of his seat to shake your hand as you walk into the room and introduces himself. Like, George Clooney, I know exactly who George Clooney is. Like, but just these guys are gems, man. These two guys are gems. Henry Winkler's another one. The Fonz, like these guys, and I think because they've been at it for so many years, they know how to treat people.
Yeah,
they've seen the opposite. And I guess they've seen how other people treat people in those situations, and obviously they've said no to that approach. And these guys are just the nicest guys.
It's probably why they've had such successful careers. You know,
no doubt about it. No, I truly believe that. Yeah. I truly believe that, man. Yeah. But going into the Much Music years now, there were bands that you always ran into that thought they were God's gift to music. You know those types of bands, the rock stars, the punk rock stars.
Any bands in particular? You don't have to name names.
Well, I bring this story up. It's out there. One of my first interviews was with an indie band out of Saskatoon, and God bless these guys if they're still around doing their thing. Bluebeard was their name, Bluebeard, and never heard of them.
No.
Maybe they've all gotten other
I'm
jobs.
not surprised that I haven't heard of an indie band from Saskatoon, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, and they were out in the mid 90s when I interviewed them. But these guys were giving me, like, if I remember it correctly, and I don't have this interview on tape, one-word answers. One-word answers. I don't know whether they were nervous. I'll get rid of this call.
Yeah, no
whether they were intimidated for being in the Muchmusic environment, but they had a little attitude to go along with their one-word answers, and that's tough, man. And as you know from doing this, especially when you're doing it live, when you have these one-word answers or when you have this dead air, it doesn't make for great TV or great entertainment. Sometimes it does. When you're interviewing Ben Harper, Ben Harper would always take in your question, sit there for a few seconds, think about it, think about a great answer, and give you the great answer. Ben Harper was one of the most amazing interviews ever. Look at some of his interviews.
Yeah, I'll check it out.
It was a lot of dead air.
I like his music.
But you were anticipating that there was going to be a glorious answer to your question, and there always was. But anyway, yeah, so a band like that. I remember Bill Welichka was interviewing Blur one day, and again, they were the same, this Britpop band with all this pomp and attitude and cockiness. Again, they're thinking they're God's gift to music. They're very talented, don't get me wrong, but they were reeking in that, and they gave Bill a tough time. I remember sitting there watching the interview. Yeah, you know what? I could probably in my hands, count the number of times where things went sour on one hand. And we did hundreds of interviews. Usually the artist that was coming in was energetic, was excited, was happy, because they're promoting something. They're promoting a new album, they're promoting a new video, they're promoting themselves. So they're gonna let this energy out. But then, very minimal the amount of times it was quite the opposite.
There's probably some artists too who would come to Muchmusic and be like, oh, well, this isn't MTV. This is like the lesser than or whatever.
You know what, Oliver, funny you bring that up, because that was their initial reaction to what was going on. But then once everything was said and done, they were praising you at the end of it all by looking around and seeing how things operated, and with having VJs that really did their homework and knew their stuff. But I'm sure a lot of them that never heard of much, like the international artists that never heard of much and knew MTV because MTV was a global thing, had that thinking coming into the game. But when they left, they were sure changed.
You guys won them over, yeah.
I think we did, man. I think
that's awesome. Yeah. Changed their mentality a bit.
Because the way we did things, especially back in the day, and if you talk with Erica M or Steve Anthony or Michael Williams or Christopher Ward, they started it. They're the innovators. They can tell you more stories than me. I was just there for that middle decade of that 30-year run that Muchmusic had from 84 to, well, basically everything shut down in 2014, I would say, in terms
somewhere
of
around there. Yeah, they switched it to just being
producing and being live, and now correct me if I'm wrong, more shows and
definitely, yeah.
But I think that 30-year window from 84 to 2014 is when things were, especially that first decade. That first decade was, everything was new. It was so new to everyone. That middle decade, I was happy to be part of. But
that's I know.
Like you said earlier, I'm glad I got out of Dodge that last decade.
Yeah, 2005 was a good time to leave.
It just looked really commercial, really corporate, and really robotic, like you said earlier. Now, maybe it wasn't. I wasn't there. I wasn't a part of it. That wasn't me anymore. So maybe it wasn't. I don't know. It just looked that way.
Well, and it
And I
makes
knew it was
sense.
coming.
In some regards, it makes sense that they would push to do less music videos because stuff like
Yeah.
YouTube started popping up and they didn't really,
True.
you know,
Yeah.
but it's still sad. I don't know. It's still a bummer in a way.
However you look at it, it's still sad for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
Okay, well, I want to talk to you about your charitable work and all the organizations you're involved in, because that's a really amazing part of your career as well. You're a World Vision Canadian ambassador. You've done stuff with Big Brothers and Sisters, Kids Help Phone. But I really, really found the World Vision stuff to be amazing because you went on all these trips like Ecuador and Tanzania and Cambodia.
Man.
And I wanted to ask, first of all, what's it like seeing that kind of poverty in children and such a different style of life? And sort of a follow-up question, what's it like returning to like the first world, North America? Do you feel guilty? Do you see people taking things for granted? Like, does it really mess your mind up a bit, you know?
Everything you said, bang on. Bang
Okay.
on. My first trip to Africa, my first trip with World Vision was with the bands or the duo McMaster and James from out west.
Okay.
Luke
McMaster,
McMaster, I believe, is still doing stuff. Anyhow, we went to Tanzania and we touched down in Arusha, and holy man, it was quite the culture shock. You know, you see images on television or you read about the way things are in these different countries and cultures, but to actually walk in this area and see with your own eyes how people are living, it's everything. It's sad, it's mind-blowing, it's humbling, it's everything you can think of, because here these people are living the way they're living. They don't know how we're living over here in North America. And they're happy. They're getting by. They're living life. They greet you with a smile. It was amazing to see how many of them were greeting us with smiles as we approached. It was amazing, but sad at the same time, if you can understand that.
well, particularly children living in squalor. Yeah.
Yes, because these obstacles that they're facing in their lives, it's just so heartbreaking. And that's, of course, why World Vision was going over there to help, obviously, the bottom line is to help these communities out the best way they could, whether it came to the water, their farming, whatever they could do. So coming back to Canada, it's like, we're wasting water. Why are we showering every day, twice a day, some people? Why are we wasting water? Why are we wasting energy on this? What are we doing with our environment? So yeah, it really made you think about how we live our life here.
Especially because you commented that they were all very happy and smiling a lot. And you have people over here who have everything they could ever want and they're still miserable.
And more,
you know?
and they want more. But you're right. Some of these women were walking miles to the nearest watering well to just get fresh water, where we can just go over here to our taps, turn on the water, and it's crazy, man.
Even hit the ice machine, you know.
Even hit the ice machine.
Like
that's right.
We're spoiled.
So it was, and I'm going to say inspiring as well, because I saw the way these people were living, and it made me realize, well, we could do that over here too, if you think about it, because there's a lot of waste over here, as we know, and too much waste, and all this waste is leading to us killing our planet. So you realize that, and you implement that when you first get back here, and you try to spread the good word. A lot of it's falling on deaf ears because
those people haven't had those experiences for themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You need to bring those people to these areas in the world to see firsthand. And I always said that when I came back, I said, you need to go to see how these people are living. It's sad, but you know, they're still living with very, very minimal resources. And it's very sad, but it's very inspirational. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. No, for sure.
There's a dichotomy there. Yeah.
There really is. So that was my feelings in all of that. And then of course, as I continued to go on these World Vision trips, to Cambodia, to Ecuador, to other countries in Africa, I didn't feel as uncomfortable in those surroundings anymore, and I was sort of getting used to it, and that was a good thing, because these people, no matter how many obstacles are thrown in front of them, they are living and they're getting through, and with the help of all these other NGOs, not just World Vision. There's a ton out there that help out people in third world countries, but I felt better about going to these places, and I felt more comfortable with going to these places. I haven't done a trip in a while, obviously with COVID, but I'm really looking forward to going on another World Vision trip, whether it's bringing a band or a personality or whoever, just going and
well, you're a personality. Yeah.
Well, no, no, but just, submerging yourself into that culture and being with those people, and just forgetting about everything else around you and what's going on in the world, and just trying to be there for them and be a new friend for them.
Yeah.
And those World Vision trips have been amazing, man. They've really been humbling, and they've really made me into the person I am today, because I do remember that first trip, and that was the late 90s. And up until that point, I'd never been to a third world country before. It was always going to Italy to see my family, or, down to the States. But by going to Africa and all these other countries that we've talked about, they changed me for the better, for sure.
Yeah, it seems like it would enrich the soul to just be a part of that.
Certainly does, man. Yeah, it certainly does.
Wow.
And if there's one thing I could say to people out there considering, because you can go to all these countries in a more in a non-COVID time, but go over, do some volunteer stuff, do what you can do, just learn about the culture.
I think people are afraid because you hear certain places are very dangerous. They have, guerrilla warfare and stuff like that going on.
I know.
And,
it's so true. It is. That's happening too. And there was a few trips that had to be canceled because of the threat of that and the risk of that happening. So yeah. But you take your chances, I guess. If you want to experience that part of life, there's always a risk involved when you're pushing yourself to do things out of your home comfort zone.
Yeah, well, life without risks is, I don't know, kind of boring.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, well, man, I'm glad you shared that with me. I do want to talk about maybe some more uplifting stuff. I mean, that's uplifting in its own right, but some fun, silly kind of stuff here.
Yeah, man. Bring it on. I love it. Yeah.
I know that you're someone who really likes trying things, and you're that's a big part of your motto, is always trying new things. And I read that you went skydiving with the Foo Fighters. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And cliff jumping with Sean Paul and all these things. So what I want to know,
that's right. Sean Paul in Jamaica. Although
what is on your bucket list? Sorry to cut you off.
These stories are sort of true. So the Foo Fighters was a contest. We had a bunch of contests back in the day at Muchmusic. Amazing, once in a lifetime contest, unique. So the trip was, and the contest was, to go skydiving. The Foo Fighters will be there. Who knows if they're actually going to jump out of the plane with us, but they're going to be there to cheer us on. So they were, all four members of the Foo Fighters. I think we were out in BC. Pitt Meadows, I believe it was Pitt Meadows was the skydiving area. Okay. And we brought along a couple winners, Muchmusic winners from Calgary, I believe they were. So when all of us were there on the first day, the conditions, unfortunately, the conditions didn't let us jump out of the plane. And we were all quite sad because the Foos were there, the jumpers were there, I was there, the pilot was there, the plane was there, but we just couldn't do it. It was too dangerous. So we had to go back the next day. Now, the next day, the Foos couldn't join us, but we did the jump. And it was with the Muchmusic contest winners. Taylor, Dave, the Chris, they weren't jumping out with us. It was just the contest winners.
So you still jumped, though?
Hell yeah. I love the jump. We used to have a show on Muchmusic with Jennifer Hall. It was Truth or Dare Tuesday. And I loved being dared to do things. And I always loved being the guy, the go-to guy, even in the early days, to do things like nipple piercings, eyebrow piercings, tattoos done on air. I guess they always came to me with, well, Rick, like, remember the
Rick will
old
do it.
commercial? Let's get Mikey. Mikey
Yeah.
likes everything. For a cereal, I believe it
Yeah,
was, back, gosh, the 70s and 80s. Well, let's get Rick the Temp to do it. He'll do it. He doesn't say, and I was nuts to try anything back in the day. Not so much these days. I've got a lot of responsibilities and a lot of little ones that I've got to care for. But I took all the chances in the world back in the day. If you don't, like you said earlier, if you don't take risks and try things in life, what kind of life are you living? That's your prerogative and that's your way to go through it. But I want to do everything I can because we only live once. I want to try as much as I can. So I'm still trying. I'm
going to take a shot in the dark and assume that the Foo Fighters thing was when they came out with the song Learn to Fly. It was probably tied into that.
It was.
Yeah, okay.
It was.
All this was to try to figure out, though, what is on your bucket list now?
Oh, yeah.
I appreciate the food story. Don't get me wrong. But I wanted to know if there's anything that you're still dying to try.
I've done a lot, and especially a lot on TV with a camera following me around, especially back in the day. But is there anything else I'm wanting to try? I love to travel. I still want to visit countries and culture and meet cultures that I haven't even come close to understanding yet. So that's a bucket list thing.
Yeah.
Oh man, a bucket list. This is I don't really have a list of bucket list items. Like when I want to do something, I try to make it happen. I really do. Because
more spontaneous kind of.
Well, you never know, man, when time is going to run out on you.
True, yeah.
So to have a long list of things, that just puts pressure on me to get them all done. So as I go through life, if I wake up tomorrow morning and if I want to do something out of my comfort zone or thinking
like
outside
scuba diving with sharks or something like that, you know.
That was amazing, man.
You did that? Oh,
that
shit.
was
That was just an
amazing.
example. I didn't know you did that.
Rob Stewart, God, he was a great guy. And just thinking about him, he's no longer with us. And Rob was such an advocate for marine biology, marine life, sharks in particular. We all saw shark water and the amazing things that Rob introduced us to in this world, this underwater world. So yeah, Rob took me, we went scuba diving, and there was like 30 sharks around us.
Like not in a cage or anything?
No.
Oh, wow.
No one was in it. We weren't in a cage. The sharks weren't in. Rob lived with the sharks as one. Like he saw these creatures as beautiful creatures, unlike a lot of us in life that go through life thinking jaws, sharks,
Yeah, I have
terror.
a phobia somewhat of sharks for sure.
Yeah, but Rob's whole mission in life and his team and family still to this day seeing the beauty in this creature and saving the shark. As we know, a lot of bad people out there do a lot of bad things to this creature. So
yeah,
Rob was amazing at doing what he did. So yeah, Rob took me down in the Bahamas and we went down diving with sharks. It was the most exhilarating moment of my life. Like he was there with me every second. We were down 30 meters. We planted ourselves there at the base, and then the food came out to feed the sharks, and you see all these sharks coming around. They were bumping into you. It's like, what is going on right now? It was a incredible experience, and I'll never forget those moments. And as we all know, Rob lost his life, while diving and doing something that he was passionate about and that he loved. And
not unlike Steve Irwin,
that's
trying
right.
to do the same thing for crocodiles. Unfortunately, lost his life in the line of what he was doing. And
exactly,
I have a lot of admiration for those guys who are trying to turn the scary creatures into, something else and letting people see the other side of them. Yeah. So
true. Yeah.
What a special memory, though. That's amazing.
Never forget those moments. Yeah.
Yo. Well, I wanted to talk to you about sports. I'm not a huge sports guy, but I know you are.
I love sports, man. I just
wanted to hear your take on what do you think how the leagues have been handling the COVID situation with cardboard people in the stands and stuff. Are you a fan,
Well,
or do you think they should be just holding off longer?
You know what? At first, when this all happened, it was like there are no sports at all to watch, to follow. Maybe there was some, rare sports happening in Eastern Bloc countries like ping pong or something that they were still playing, which was insane to follow, but I still followed because it was sport.
It was something, yeah.
But it was something. But when all the majors, the 5 majors started coming back, it's like, yes, okay, I like this talk. Let's make it work. Let's make it work safely, in a safe way, taking all the precautions necessary. So playing in stadiums without fans, in bubbles, where only the athletes can be, no outside interference in terms of risking their health. I loved it. And when the NFL started up, we saw, some venues were allowing up to 20% capacity. So you continue to see some fans at some stadiums, even with college football. I think with baseball, maybe towards the end, or maybe not. I don't know. I forget how that played out with the World Series. But yeah, having the cardboard cut, because sometimes when I'm watching a game and I'm seeing the cardboard cutouts, I'm so into the game. I just think by seeing the visuals, I think those are real people. Yeah. By hearing the audio, and they've done such a great job with the fan ambiance and the cheering and the booing and the yelling and the heckling. I'm just concentrating on the game. I just think it's a normal sort of what I was watching before COVID.
I know in Colorado they did one game where all the fans were replaced with like South Park cutouts. Everybody from the village of South Park.
That's right. They're having fun with it. And it's
that's
what
cool.
They have to do because, sure, fans aren't allowed to come in yet. Or, you're not allowed to fill up the stadium yet. But, like life, sports must go on, man. Sports, we need sports. Like, that's a huge part of my life.
A lot of people's lives, yeah.
In a lot of people's lives. I've played sports and watched sports as far back as I could remember. So to be without sports for that first month or two, it was tough. It was tough. So when they started coming back in any capacity they were throwing at us, I was bringing it on and taking it and watching it and enjoying it and living every moment up. But
because some people aren't into sports and they would look at that situation and say, well, this isn't necessary. But I mean, it's a huge morale boost for a lot of people who are really into sports. And we need those kind of morale boosts when
we really do
depressed and,
Yes.
Yeah, so
we need something to put a smile on our face. And with the return of sports, that's what happened for a lot of us, for sure.
Just can't have Super Bowl parties or anything.
That's the thing. Or you can't, unfortunately, as Canadians, go down, because I would make road trips with my dad, my brother, my son. We would go to Lambeau Field in Green Bay. We would go to Cleveland or Chicago to watch football games. We would go to the hockey arenas to watch hockey games. We just can't do that anymore. And those were amazing road trips and amazing memories that you made. I look forward to those days returning, that you can actually go and be part of a live sporting event and participate. And
road trips anywhere would be nice.
Road trips anywhere. Yeah. See, I can even do a road trip to Ottawa, Oliver, to come be with you, because numbers are increasing, and I felt, I got to be a little more responsible.
Yeah, and with
we all do.
With my fiance and I both working in the hospital, I mean, I always warn people that, but we do have the plexiglass for whatever.
You got that nice setup right there with the plexiglass, and I would have felt right at home, and I would have felt safe and comfortable. Yeah. But still, you never know, man. You never know.
I don't want to be the guy that accidentally killed Rick the Temp, so I'm okay with us postponing that until the future, man.
Maybe if we wait a little longer, I'll have some good news to share with you and your listeners. So we'll see.
Well, all of this has been amazing, but yeah, definitely. Hopefully this thing that you're talking about pans out and you'll have something new to tell all your fans that you're doing now. So
I hope. Fingers crossed.
I had a couple other fun questions. I know that I read that you were into jazz and 80s music, and I was just curious if you had any favorite artists in those categories.
Yeah, man, I'm into all genres of music. I always have been. Sure, I love the alt rock and rock. That's my go-to, but I love music is universal, and all types of music and styles and genres I love and I respect, and I can't get enough of. So yeah, jazz has been a huge part of me for years. you know, whether it was my parents listening to the old jazz artists, Louis Armstrong, Ella Fitzgerald, you know, Sinatra, whoever it was, that was ingrained in me, in my soul, and in my heart. And I love that music. I listen to Jazz FM 91 these days. It's one of North America's, you know, most amazing jazz radio stations. I'm sure you can get it with their app out there and
online or something. Yeah,
it's amazing, man. They do amazing things. They're a non-for-profit, obviously, and they have these drives every so often. You know, these telethons, having listeners and people give back to the station so they continue doing their thing. But the 80s, man, I'm an 80s kid, I guess you can say. My years in the 80s were, I was 10 to 19 in the 80s, 10 to 20, I guess. So that's when I was deep into music the most, with bands like The Cult, you know, okay. Duran Duran,
maybe
all
Rush.
These electronic bands. Okay, Rush, of course. Yeah, of course. Rush, even in the 70s, you know, even prior, because my older siblings got me into the music. You know, my parents got me into jazz. My siblings got me into the Stones, the Beatles, the Who, Bowie,
nice,
Rush, you know, all these amazing bands that we all know and love. But the 80s, it was a funny time, because an interesting time as well, because music video we were seeing more and more of, and you weren't just listening to this amazing music. We were getting to watch. You're watching music in terms of watching the music video, so you're putting visuals to the audio, and it was amazing. And all these bands that you grew up listening to, well, now you can get a better understanding of what they're all about, because their personalities are shining through in these music videos. So yeah. We used to do 80s weekends at Muchmusic, and it really brought us back to that time, that decade of loving music and all those.
It's funny because I'm only now starting to appreciate some 80s music because I was born in 85, so late 90s was kind of when I got into music, and I viewed 80s as like really lame because everything had synthesizers and, you know, it was just very like digital
synthesizers sounding.
Yeah.
And they were playing synthesizers like guitars back then.
Guitars, yeah.
Right. So it was an amazing decade. It really was. It was a corny decade.
Corny is probably a good word. Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of people will like put the 80s on the back burner, but the 80s, man, there's something to say about the 80s. That music stays in your mind, like. Dexy's Midnight Runners and all these, you know, Culture Club and Duran Duran, Wham, all these amazing bands. You hear the music to this day, and this generation knows the music. You know they have to, because they're on ads or wherever they're hearing them. It all came from the 80s, from these amazing, interesting, unique 80s bands. Yeah,
there's definitely a lot of earworms that came out of the 80s.
Yeah.
Stuff that just really sticks in your head,
That stuff that sticks, for sure.
Okay, well, I don't want to keep you all day. I feel like I've already probably eaten up too much of your time here, but
what else do I have to do, man? I'm just waiting for a call from the major network. That's all. And if they call while I'm on with you, bear with me.
Yeah, no, that's why. I mean, I'll let you go, but I have one question I want to ask you. Last season, at the end of every episode, I was asking people if they could have a superpower, what would it be? Now that I'm in season 2, I've come up with a new question, so you'll be the first person that I'm asking this. If you could be transported to any place and time in Earth's history, when and
I
why?
I lost you for a little while, Oliver. Do I have you back? Are you
there? I'm here.
Okay,
can you hear me? Okay, cool.
Repeat that question. Sorry, I didn't hear it.
Okay, so the question I'm asking everybody at the end of this season now is, if you could be transported to any place and time in Earth's history, where would it be, when would it be, and why?
Wow.
I know, you could go back to the dinosaurs. You could
Well, there are so many amazing life moments that I wanted to be a part of and witness. I'll send you a list. I'm going to stick to music, and I'm going to stick to just wanting to be there when legendary bands created music. Okay, so there's a lot of avenues we can go down here with that loaded question of yours. But for me, oh gosh, And since, you know, the Beatles are probably one of the most well-known bands to ever make music, maybe send me back to Abbey Road, and I want to be there in the studio with the Beatles, you know, when they're making this music. Sure, we get to be part of it now with documentaries or things like this, but I think that's one thing that I would really like to be a part of.
You want John to turn to you and just be like, Rick, what did you think of that take?
Yeah.
Was it a good one, or should I lay down another? Yeah.
Very, very good job.
That's not bad Liverpool
impersonation. That was very good. But I think moments like that, and not just the Beatles, I wanted to be there when the Beach Boys recorded Pet Sounds, or when
being at Woodstock.
Pearl Jam recorded 10, or we got to go to Woodstock many years later for one of the anniversary Woodstocks. It was a totally different experience, as you can understand. I think Limp Bizkit and the Chili Peppers set the place on fire that last night. But it started off peaceful with the Tragically Hip and James Brown. It started off very peaceful.
Oh, man, I wish I could have seen James Brown live. Good Lord.
Oh, man.
I still listen to him almost daily. James, I don't think there's anybody's music that makes me feel better and more alive than James Brown. You know, it just makes me want to dance. Yeah, feel good. Yeah, exactly.
The little dance. Oh, he
get you feel good. You know?
That's right.
Just something about him.
All these artists that we talked about brought something different to the table, the musical table. And it's such a beautiful, large table. And when you talk about artists, you talk about different genres, and you talk about your love. Your love's got to be for all of it, all of the above. And we talked about that earlier. But yeah, being there in those moments where the history was made in terms of music and these bands making music, I think I'd want to be there. But there's so much that I wanted to be a part of in history. Yeah, it's hard to narrow down to one specific time. I just kept to music. That's cool, though. I'll accept that answer. All right, man. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. Yeah, Oliver, it means the world to me. Man. No, my pleasure, man. You do a great job, man. I'm fearing my return to the hot seat one day, if it happens, knock on wood, because people like you who have started these podcasts are doing amazing things. You know, keep up the good work. It's a great conversation. One of the highest compliments I ever received was from Jay-Z. After Jay-Z came in for an I&I, he brought some friends with him. I think you may have heard of them, Kanye West and Rihanna. He brought those two in, and at the end of the interview, those two up-and-comers, which I guess they were. They were then, Jay-Z, yeah, probably came in. He signed a pair of his shoes for me, and I'll never forget. And I have them, and just love the conversation, man. It was that simple, but it meant so much to me, and it kept me going for years after. And that's what it's all about with stuff like this and stuff that I did and hopefully will do in the near future. It's just about the conversation, that connection, and trying to find out about people and learn something about people and educate people if we can as well. So and grow through the experience. Yeah. Roll through it, man. Roll through it. Yeah. Be in the moment and the experience is important. And a lot of people fail to do that genuinely, Well, that's one of the things, sort of like what we were talking about earlier. One of the reasons I like doing this way is being able to be completely uncensored as well, because that's something that, you spoke about with Muchmusic. There was, you can't say this, you can't say that. I love that when Strombo came on, he was dropping a bunch of F-bombs, and, it's a side of him that maybe people hadn't seen when they're used to just the polished, media version. That's right. So that's right. If you want to swear, feel free. No, listen, man, I don't swear. I shouldn't say never, but no, I didn't expect you to. But that's what I love about George too, to expect the unexpected. You never know what will come out of his mouth, whether it's a chat that he had with Iggy Pop or an F-bomb. He's a punk at heart, Or in the same sentence as talking about his experience is with Iggy Pop, he'll drop an F-bomb. So no, man, it's all good. It's all good. Hey, we are who we are, and we can't change who we are. Well, censorship to some degree I find kind of silly. That's my opinion. I think if it limits your ability to express yourself, then I would rather let people speak freely, uncensored,
and get the true, you know, feeling behind what they're trying to express.
No doubt about it. Yeah, I agree with that. And that's why formats like this are perfect.
Yeah.
For what you're going for. Yeah.
No, this was amazing, man. It was,
right,
I'll
man.
cherish this time I spent with you.
Yeah.
And hopefully we can
man.
catch up again.
I'm glad we finally were able to chat, and great virtually meeting you, Oliver, and we'll do it again. Well. I promise we'll do it again in person next time, I hope, right?
Yeah. Anytime you're in Ottawa, man.
6 to 8 months, let's hope. Let's fingers crossed. Be safe over there, man. Be safe and keep healthy, okay?
You too. Take care of those kids, man.
All right, Oliver. You too, my man. Nice to talk to you. Take care.
You too. Peace, man.
Okay. Thank you. Peace. Thank you.